Welcome to a new edition of the Molecule Pod, the Eurogas podcast, where we explore the evolving landscape of gaseous fuels in Europe and we discuss also, of course, the key issues shaping our industry. Today we have a special guest. It's our newly elected president, Cristian Signoretto from ENI. Cristian has served the board of Eurogas for a few years, since 2019. So as you can imagine, he's no stranger to the challenges and opportunities within the sector. Let's kick off with the first question. I have many questions for you, Cristian. Cristian, why running for presidency now after, again, serving the board for a few years?
Well, first of all, Martina, thanks for having me. So I feel Europe actually is at strategic junction for multiple perspectives. In this context, I wanted to ensure that our industry contributes to the evolution of our beloved continent. From a broader perspective, the world keeps changing very, very fast. Geopolitics are shifting, demographics are setting new trends, size of the economies are rebalancing, and innovation is disrupting well-consolidated industries. And energy and environment have become closely intertwined in the global agenda. Well, in this context, gas and LNG are acquiring increasing relevance at a global level to provide flexible energy and to help decarbonize the energy sector. More specifically, in Europe, new market dynamics are emerging after the Russian phase out of Russian gas and the increase of LNG supplies. There is more competition with Asia and Middle East, which has an effect on pricing and security of supply. Well, against this background, after the recent elections, we also have a new parliament and a new commissions of the European Union, which will need to complete and implement the energy policies, promoting decarbonization, whilst addressing also the competitiveness issue that Europe is currently facing. And I'm really keen to support the industry in this context, not only in my role at Eni, but also from within Eurogas, of which, as you said, I've been a member for since 2019. I want to also take this opportunity to thank all the members of the association for their trust in me. We have also recently appointed a new manager from within the ranks of the association. In fact, Andreas Good has recently replaced James Watson as Secretary General of Eurogas. I really think that there is a lot at stake for our industry and for Europe as a whole. And actually, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to give my contribution as a professional and also as a citizen.
Thank you, Cristian. Thank you very much. Can you tell us a little bit more about your vision actually for Eurogas during your tenure as a president?
Well, sure. For me, Eurogas plays a strategic role in the energy debate in Europe. And given the global nature of the topics that we deal with, actually, Eurogas is also becoming more and more a relevant voice globally. My vision for Eurogas is centered on three pillars: reputation, engagement, and deployment. Let's see them one by one. My first priority is to make sure that the association contributes to shape an effective and truthful debate on the energy agenda. We want to be credible and reliable partners for our institutional stakeholders and further enhance our good reputation and weight in the policy debate. In fact, drafting good policies is the cornerstone for having a well-functioning market that delivers reliable, affordable, and clean energy to Europe. We acknowledge the challenge of the so-called energy trilemma: guaranteeing security of supply, delivering affordable sources of energy, and reaching full decarbonization targets. This is especially true if we consider that the European gas market is strongly influenced by the global LNG market, and if we also realize that the carbon emission is a cross-border issue that needs to be tackled at the global level. For these very reasons, our policies need to take into consideration also the global landscape in order for them to be really effective. Turning to my second priority, I want to strengthen the participation of the numerous members in the life of the association. We have 100 plus members in the association with different footprints in the gas value chain, geographical presence, and with multiple strategies. We need the commitment of everyone in shaping the association's directions and targets. I want to make sure that every member feels at home in Eurogas, and that we focus on the important matters that capture the most relevant and sensitive topics. I know this will take more of my time and more effort from Eurogas team, but I truly believe that through debate and exchange, we will be able to produce better ideas and more meaningful inputs for our policymakers and stakeholders. To this extent, I will also be dedicated, together with Andreas, to ensure that our team in Eurogas keeps developing in terms of competencies and skills to their benefit and also to the benefit of the members. My third priority instead deals with the ability to make sure that the policies that we contribute to draft are then effectively deployed into reality. This is particularly relevant if we consider that Europe now has its first pieces of legislation in place for support the development of renewable gases, and the Fit for 55 and the gas and hydrogen packages have been completed and entered into law. The incoming Commission and European Parliament will need to develop the right ways to support the achievement of such renewable gas targets through a flexible approach, taking into account the specific context of each member state and safeguarding the European competitiveness. And we really want to contribute to this to achieve these challenging tasks.
So you talk about competitiveness, which is a key word nowadays. We know with the Draghi report on competitiveness, compared to recent more turbulent years, how is the market doing now? We know the gas sector was particularly impacted by the crisis through 2022 and 2023. What is the situation now?
Well, the gas industry has made enormous efforts since the beginning of the crisis. It has almost entirely replaced Russian gas. It has made significant investments in gas and LNG, and it has contributed to the continuity of energy supplies so that no customer has been interrupted. Today's European prices demonstrate this. We have not yet returned to the pre-COVID levels, but we have come a long way from the spikes of 2022, notwithstanding the volatile geopolitical context. The single European gas market has proved resilient in such a turbulent scenario. The infrastructure is well developed and provides for a large interconnections among countries. This in turn allowed for an extensive rerouting of the gas flows across the entire continent after the Russian gas reduction, maintaining reasonably low price differentials between countries. In fact, today's those differentials just reflect the transportation costs, with no major bottlenecks and no competitive distortions at a geographical level. I really think this is one of the best examples of the importance of developing a single integrated European market. In addition to the infrastructure development, both for pipelines and LNG units, the market participants were very fast in rearranging their supply portfolio, in particular by increasing LNG deliveries to make up for the loss of Russian gas. 13 new regasification units have been deployed across Europe in the last 2 years, and many new supply deals have been announced by European shippers. Overall, the European institutions have supported the gas market through the crisis with a focus on curbing demand. Thanks to the emergency measures, the EU achieved 18% of gas reduction since 2022. Part of this demand reduction is very positive because it is linked to the renewable energy deployment and energy saving. However, part of the reduction is due to a reduced economic activity, which in turn triggered lower growth prospects in the continent, which we really hope to reverse soon. To be honest, we all should also thank the mild weather of the last 2 winters that helped us a lot to mitigate the gas crisis we suffered. And along the way, as Eurogas, we have constantly contributed, especially to our members, to ensure European gas supply diversification and efficient use of the storage infrastructure.
You mentioned gas supply diversification, storage infrastructure. It makes me think about security of supplies or many things, but isn't there another important priority? It's probably worth to mention as well, and it's decarbonization. In the short, medium, even long-term scenario, what's your vision about that?
Well, sure. On a global basis, I would say there is a strong argument to substitute the more polluting fuels like coal and oil that still account for the majority of the energy sources with gas, which is readily available and it has a much lower carbon intensity. Promoting this substitution in the energy mix is a no-regret move because it allows us to extend the duration of the carbon budget at our disposal in order to have more time to reach a net zero carbon economy. which is a very challenging target, I'd say, to be achieved at a global level. Even in Europe, we still have to complete this pathway. Just recently, the UK has switched off its last coal-fired power plant. We need other European countries to follow suit and reduce to zero the use of coal. Moreover, gas and LNG can still displace oil and oil products in some activities, such as marine bunkering, road mobility and transportation, and other off-grid applications. Gas also plays the role of reliable source of energy when renewables are not available because of their intermittency. In broader terms, gaseous fuels are best suited for storing large amounts of energy for a long time and for moving it across long distances. Moreover, gas can be decarbonized in many ways, starting with zeroing methane emissions along the entire value chain, then using carbon capture, storage, and utilization to avoid emitting CO2 in the atmosphere, and finally producing directly renewable gases, such as biomethane or synthetic gas. These are levers that can be pulled incrementally in order to reach increasing levels of decarbonization. We at Eurogas plan to inform the policy debate by delivering evidence-based proposals that will show how gaseous fuels will meet the decarbonization target efficiently and in a resilient manner. Our aim is to promote the role of gas, facilitating the uptake of renewable sources by adopting a pragmatic approach that takes into account the differences among the various countries in Europe. In fact, a more balanced and tailored approach tends to be even more resilient because it increases the options in case something does not go as planned. In any case, the linchpin of our strategy will be technological neutrality. We really think that policymakers should set the rules and the destination, but the market participant should decide which route and technology is best suited to get there. And in that respect, we believe that we need a balanced approach to the energy transition, based on energy efficiency, renewable power, renewable and low carbon gases, and carbon capture, storage, and utilization. I think these are the pillars that must be combined together to deliver the most cost-effective energy transition. All the more so at a time when energy prices continue to be a top concern of our citizens and industries, and also a big factor in the competitiveness of European industry, as the recent report issued by Mr. Draghi has highlighted.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. The point on competitiveness, it's probably a key one. We saw the Draghi report indeed, but my question I think would be now, if we think about indeed competitiveness and the need for gaseous fuels in 2050, what's your point of view? What's your take on that?
Well, Martina, I think certain economic and industrial sectors need gaseous fuels as these are more resilient and efficient options. That's a fact. In some cases, gaseous fuels are actually the only option. In developed countries, the goal of climate neutrality by 2050 will lead to gas being used more in sectors whose processes cannot be easily decarbonized. For example, hard-to-abate industries, maybe also in association with CCUS, as we said before. In other sectors, such as buildings and electricity generation, the increase in the use of new technologies, for example, renewables and heat pumps, could lead to a gradual reduction in the gas consumption. In any case, gas will continue to play a fundamental role of complementarity with electricity production from renewables to guarantee continuity and security of supply at an affordable price. Managing the intermittency, as we said before, of wind and solar energy is a fundamental challenge of energy systems. Operators must cope with sudden peaks and drops in production of such plants. There is currently no economical large-scale way to store, for example, solar energy during a summer day for later distribution in a winter night. Finally, and more importantly, gaseous fuels are compatible with a net zero world. Renewable and low carbon gases coupled with CCUS can lead to net negative emissions when used with, for example, biomethane. In 2050, renewables and low carbon gases will increasingly partner with natural gas to deliver the energy transition. Both will still be at the center of the energy system, I think.
Thanks. While you were speaking, I noted down some keywords like net zero, competitiveness, decarbonization, reliable, affordable, and clean energy. I think all these points will be indeed key for the upcoming commission, for the next, legislative period. Um, and you covered a lot we covered a lot in this conversation. I would like now to go more to a personal question, if you don't mind, because this is, I think, in a way related. If there's if I were a young professional entering the world of gaseous fuels now, what advice would you give me?
Well, that's a nice question. So I truly think that the gas sector, and more in general, the energy sector, need people that are eager to understand the complexity and the nuances of the business. But those people should also be capable of thinking out of the box in order to spur innovation in the industry, which we absolutely need in order to make the quantum leap that is required for us to make the energy transition.
Thank you, Christian. Yeah, eager. I think it's a evolving world. There are challenges, there are many opportunities as well, but for sure it's a really interesting world and sector that I can confirm. Is there something that we haven't mentioned today and you would like to still talk about before we end this conversation?
Well, maybe I would like to mention the last thing, which is linked to the fact that Europe accounts for less than 8% of global emissions. So I think it is important that we manage to pull other countries towards our targets, our goals, and that we set up a global governance to really be able to reach a net zero carbon world. I mean, together with the others, we can do it. Alone, it's going to be tough.
Thank you, Christian. It was a really insightful discussion today. We covered a lot of ground. We talked about decarbonization, net zero, about affordability, security of supplies, many, many things. So thanks again for your insightful perspective on this. I hope that our listeners as well found our conversation as insightful, as informative and inspiring as we did. So thank you to our listeners as well for tuning in. If you like the episode, be sure to join us for the next one, as we will continue exploring the key issues shaping the energy sector in Europe.
Thank you, Martina. Thanks, everybody.